Howdy, y'all. Good to be back with you. This is Jerome Diaz, Senior with My Construction Education, your premier plumber's trainer, a Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners approved provider with My CE, My Construction Education. And we're back with you on our first set of questions, our first set of how to's. That's what we said we're going to call it. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it. And one of our first ones was, what does the State Board of Plumbing Examiners Center looks like? What to expect? We may even do a few break off how tos or sessions on the exam center. So let's get right to it. And you may or may not be aware that there is a virtual tour right here on the State Board's website. So we're going to kick things off and take you here on a virtual tour. Pretty cool little setup. And at the same time, we may even make this a blast from the past, a bit of a history, because there is a museum. You may or may not know this. There's a small little area of museum items that they've got in, and a good bit of information, but some pretty good history that we've got to share with you here on the State Board's website. So we're going to jump right in, and so how do we get to this virtual tour? We'll discover it right here under contacts. So I'm going to go and click on contacts. Scroll down here to the bottom, got a bunch of phone numbers and names, and right here at the very bottom is where we've got that virtual tour. So you can do this yourself. Got a backstage pass, and you can see we're walking right into the door. I'm gonna kind of scroll back over here for just a second. So you can see where we've got our street view. Google Street View across the ways. 35 is right over here to our right of our screen. Be coming off of the road just as you got off that turn off, or that exit to get down to State Board Plumbing Examiners. By the way, parking's in the back. So they state all of this in the email that they send you, but be a good idea to read that email. And how many times do we read every bit of information? In this case, I would read every bit of information, especially when you get ready to come down and take your practical, the hands-on, as we call it, the shop, and the dollhouse, the miniature house. It has a couple of different names that it goes by. The written is no longer given here at the State Board of Plumbing Examiners. It's given right there at your own front yard or backyard, where you can take it at a computer-based testing center. Now, if you are wanting to take the exam in Spanish, you can do so by special request, but you got to be sure to get with the State Board. Now, that portion or that version is currently being offered as far as the Spanish exam in writing. That's the only exam that's being offered, but you got to do that by special request upon application submit. So let's go on in here. I feel like I'm feeling those exam jitters here, having some flashbacks. So some of us may remember that's where you would come in and line up. They still pretty much do that. You got that paper in hand, and you'd go over here by that drinking fountain. Let's see if I can zoom in here for you. Oh, here we go. So right over here by the counter, you come up, line up, got your paper and ID in hand, and then they put you an examinee number that you go by, not by name. That whole day, everything that you did down to the project would be by examinee number. And you got these stations. This is where we would take our written exam. These stations right here that you see out in front of you have some extra stations over here in the distance. I can remember that's where I took my master's, right over here in one of these stations. Some of the inspectors as well, and even our endorsements, we would take them. So once you got checked in right here at the counter, By the way, if you're wondering what's behind these doors, what's behind door number one, door number two, or three. So this one that I've got my cursor on over here on the left that's got the window, that takes you out into what you would take your practical or the shop. You go through the door, make a left, and there on the left-hand side would be the water heater wall. There'd be the plastics project, the cast iron involving as a 2 or 3 part. You've got your rolling offset and cutting cast iron, fitting some cast iron, carbon steel, so doing the black steel project, do the math, rolling offset, and also do some threading, copper. Used to the old journeyman exam, you do some brazing and soldering. Now the journeyman exam and tradesman exam is just soldering. So you do whatever soldering project they'd have you work on. I don't think there's anything else that I'm leaving out. And once you're done with the shop portion, then you'd either come back in and do your written. If you've done your written, you'd come back in, you do your material takeoff. And that's what these stations are now utilized for. Is this is where you would put together from the set of plans that they would give you. You take a seat here at one of the stations assigned to you, come up with a material takeoff. Once you've got that completed, you may even want to take some scratch paper and come up with a sketch. I'd suggest it. Get a game plan together, and then you'd walk back up to the counter, or if whatever instructions they gave you and said, hey, just wave a hand, like you're at Ponchos, just raise that flag. But whatever instructions, and here at the counter is where they take your order, just like if you were at a supply house. And then you'd walk through that same door, like we were mentioning earlier. You walk through that same door that you went out to the shop with that glass window, and you'd hang a right. You'd hang a right, and they'd have a station there ready for you that would have the dollhouse, the scale house, and you'd go to work. This middle door is where the examiners do their grading, do their monitoring. Over here, this is an office that we have over to the right hand side. And then we have the cross connection wall. Hey, don't let the size fool you of this exam center. There's plenty of space and storage where they keep all sorts of bits of information. Oh, by the way, out where we had the glass door, that glass window door, is also where the inspectors have their practical that they take as well. So this here, and this has been the pride and joy amongst other items that the state boards has for demonstration. This has been with the state board for, well, as long as I've been a plumber. My dad's been a plumber, and many other mentors that I've got to have the pleasure of hanging out with and learning from. But this cross connection wall, this backflow wall, not more of a cross connection wall, has really been the creme de la creme. This, if you sat here, paid attention, it actually would help you out on your tradesman, your journeyman, or your master's exam. And so each individual that had come in, and this is prior to 2020, even prior to COVID. So it wasn't COVID that had just put this here as a demonstration to be looked at. It was a working demonstration, and it continues to be utilized every now and then. But where they truly get to put this thing across the state is they have a mobile cross connection trailer, and that one you by request schools, whether it be high schools, construction programs, high schools that have plumbing programs, colleges that have construction or plumbing programs, and many other organizations have requested the cross connection wall, that mobile trailer unit, to travel to the location. So you can try one of those numbers there in the contact information. I'm sure they'll get you in touch with somebody, or maybe even tell you their next location might be close to you where they put that demo on. But this, I tell you what, was really something else that a lot of plumbers had been exposed to, and had the opportunity to be able to sit and watch this demo. And if you're curious enough, you can see just from what we're showing you here, that glass pipe that they've got here. What we've got set up is this is a first floor of set of fixtures, and then you've got a second floor set of fixtures. That's what that divider represents, with some water closets Got some with some cutaways describing what you've got going on. And the only S-trap, well, there's not many that are approved or allowed in the plumbing systems, but the water closet's one of them. We know that to be true. And so we got some water closets up here, tank type, some flushometers, got a lavatory, and a cooling tower. That's what that represents over on the right-hand side. Got ourselves a little cooling tower. Down here at the bottom, got some various sinks, labs, drinking fountains. And check those things out. Let me zoom in. You can see those drinking fountains right there in the middle. And then the mirrors allow you to see as the examiners would add some food coloring, that being the contaminant that be sitting. And the glass piping representing water piping would show I say the benefits. Now, there ain't no benefits to drinking something that's non-potable, traveling there in the drinking water system. Over here on the right-hand side, we have this little plot of grass. It could be a bubbler or a sprinkler, and that mirror, as you were sitting there watching the demo, would allow you to see what's going on and how quickly it would be, even in the year or time that you went and took the test, to no failure, how these cross connections could exist within our day and age. A little clear water tank, show the different approved and not approved tank fillers. Let's take a walk over here. Let's see. This may give us a better view. There we go. We're even getting a zoom in there that's a fire hydrant just over. Now I know what a fire hydrant's at. So here you can see is they would demonstrate talking of what is a proper fitting arrangement with fixtures that are sitting on the vertical. We could put something as a sanitary tee like we see here on the right-hand side, or we could put a combination. But then what does that result with that trap arm? Well, that's a big S-trap. That's not going to work. So yeah, the one on the right, that's the one to go. Hey, here we go. Got some scale piping and layouts. And by the way, this piping that they have here, very, very similar to what utilized there on the scale house. So that gives you an idea of dimension. Down over here, fire suppression. So that fire suppression setup and fitting identification. Zoom back out. Over here's that museum section I was telling you about. You can get there early. Get the opportunity, you can spend some time, and they will let you. You can ask them if you don't want to get too curious and want to make sure that you're not just wandering around. But chances are, if they've got these sections open, then you'd have the opportunity to walk around through this museum section. Pretty awesome. Things that they've accumulated through the years. And I've met some plumbing shops that have their fair share of museums. You got some wooden water pipe, old fixtures, both gas, water, sewer. Hey, this section right here, this is pretty cool. I don't know if I can zoom in any further. This multi-story structure that we see here is a pretty awesome demonstration they have set up. The scale piping, very similar to what you would encounter and would be utilizing in your plumbing. This here is down to some pretty good detail, but this also gives a good idea of what does it look like for the inspectors. This is not the inspector exam, but it gives you an idea of where you would be walking around and have to identify items that would be code violations, items that would be code allowed. So this is not the inspector exam, but gives you an idea of the size of the model. And then once you go back there, then they've got that mock-up and setup. We've got some tanks up here. I think there's a water heater. It's probably tucked back over. Hey, this right here, that looks familiar. A couple of backflow preventers. So back when they would do the cross-connection wall, they would also talk about backflow preventers. Got some more museum items over here on the back and the right. A little bit more on fire suppression. And then we find ourselves back in the area for those either working on blueprints or taking some portion or version of the written. Just keep in mind, written exams now have moved all to computer based, all to computer based. And here recently, the masters and inspectors, well, I take it back, the inspectors, the inspector exam as of current is uh, is offered in Austin. So all inspectors across the state are required to take their inspector exam here at this exam center that we're taking a virtual tour. This is a break room. This break room they've got set up. Go in, get yourself a soda pop, or so you got someone that's waiting for you, your ride. And come over here. Most they just decide to just wait out in the parking lot, especially since we're getting into some really nice weather here in Texas. So we find ourselves starting to exit, and then we want to take you down over here to the admin office. So we walk in here to the admin office, and it's just right outside the exam centers. We see there's the double doors. Right here, you can be greeted, ask your questions, and hey, if you're owing them some money, you can even pay it right there, drop off an application. 3 ways that you can submit information. Prefer and recommend you do it in the portal. You could you could do so in the um, post office, so you could mail it over to them, or you can drop it off right here at Austin, and they'd be happy to take that application or information. Or you may just say, "Well, I need to go down there because I've got some questions." If you're needing some help, they've also got these kiosks. So you can see they got these self-servicing kiosks. That way, you can do the same thing, get yourself logged in, and get everything that you're needing taken care of. Little waiting area here in case you're going to one of the board meetings. Hey, may have been curious. So where are those board meetings? You get in here, sign in. They get you buzzed in, and get there well in advance. You go through this door and then hang a left, and that's where they have the board meetings. If you're coming as a guest, or maybe you're wanting to come and voice something, that is where you would be doing it. And check this out. We got some old pictures hanging on the wall. Look at that exam center. That was the very first exam center that they had. And you got all those plumbers in taking the exam back over here. Man, that's awful tight, but they got it happening. Taking their practicals. I think there's some more pictures over here on this other side of this wall. Showing various plumbers in back wind. Pretty cool. Pretty cool experience. And I can't see those pictures too well. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, we'll make our way back out of the exam center. Let me see if I can find where I'm heading out without running into the door, the virtual door. And we'll make our way out of the exam center. So I hope you enjoyed it. If anything, you can go on this virtual tour yourself. You know how to get there. Go to contacts, and down there towards the bottom, they got that virtual tour. Do keep in mind as we finish out today's video. Do keep in mind that the state board is in this last board meeting that they had looking to move. They are looking at getting relocated, and so they're in the process of doing that. This will make for Austin, if I do my math right, this will make their third move. The ones we saw in the picture earlier were their original location, downtown Austin. This one here that we have just located just outside of downtown Austin. And then the other one will be just a little bit further on down the road. And once we get some more information on that, then we'll be happy to pass that along. Hope you enjoyed this. We look forward to doing some more video series. This one, a little bit of a how-to, but just a bit of going back and a blast from the past, and just sharing you an experience. So that way, it hopefully takes a little bit of an edge off if you decide to take your exam there in Austin. If you're curious, what does the exam center look like in Waco? It's very, very similar, minus what you see here in the entranceway. But as far as the booth, the tables, all of that is fairly fairly laid out the same, down to the exam center where it's in the practical and then the houses. So you're going to get pretty much exactly the same feel, whether it be in Waco or be in Austin. We'll look forward to seeing you back for some other videos and just visiting with you on some of your questions and even some of the how-tos that you'd like us to present here to our other Texas plumbers. Well, you have yourself a good rest of the day. Talk to you soon.